Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Jaded Blossom's first release of 2026 is now available, and I think it's going to make you hungry. Here's a quick look at all the items in the January 2026 release. And you can always save by purchasing the full release bundle. So I'll start with the stencil. This is a border stencil. It's currently not available individually. This is the freebie you'll receive if you purchase at least $50 worth of product, and one item must be from the new release. This is for a limited time and while supplies last. The first die set is a new gnome add-on set called Pizza. I'll pull them out of the bag so you can see all the dies. This set includes two new hats for the gnome. There's the baker's or chef's hat and also a pizza hat. So the hat looks like a slice of pizza. There are several items for the gnome to hold. There's the round pizza, a heart pizza. There are two slices of pizza. One is upright and the other has dripping, melting cheese. And you can top the pizzas with some tiny pepperoni pieces. The next die set is an add-on for Jaded Blossom's Build a Booth set. This one's also called Pizza. So with all the add-on sets, you do need the original. So there's a Build-A-Booth die set, and then there's a girl and boy gnome set to go with the gnome add-ons. The new Build-A-Booth pizza add-on set has the sign with the word pizza. You can price your pizza $1. There are two different banner bunting pieces, one with the pizza and the other with veggies. There are two new sentiment stamp sets. The first one's called Pizza Party, and there are coordinating outline dies. Lots of great sentiments, and I love that you could use this set throughout the year. It includes several birthday sentiments, love sentiments. My favorite on this set is, no matter how you slice it, you're awesome. And it's always nice to have the coordinating outline dies. The next stamp set is called Hot and Fresh Pizza. Now this one does not have coordinating dies, and there's a reason. It's designed to work with one of the other new die sets, although you could use it without that die set as well. I love the cute little pizza slice images on this set. Super easy, even if you're not into coloring. And here's the die set that you can use the Hot and Fresh Pizza stamp set with. It's the new Pizza Box die. Now there are only 4 pieces in this set, and don't be intimidated by it. It's actually very easy to assemble, and I will be showing how to assemble it later on in the video. One thing that's really fun about the box, you could include some small things inside. So maybe some candies, jewelry like a necklace, a bracelet, or earrings. There's also an insert piece that you'll put inside the box, and you can attach a gift card or you could put some money. And while it's super cute to decorate to look like a pizza box, you could decorate it however you want. So that's everything that's included in Jaded Blossom's January 2026 release. And if you are interested, I do have links in the description box below. I do have several projects to share with you using the new release items, and we'll start off with the pizza box. Now I cut out the 3 pieces from craft cardstock. The piece I set aside is the insert with the gift card holder options. We'll start with the 2 pieces that will form the actual box. The piece on the right is the top of the box, and the piece on the left is the bottom portion of the box. When you cut out the die cuts, it'll add these perforated stitch lines. This is where you'll need to fold. So I'm starting with the top portion of the box. There are 2 little tabs. I'm folding the tabs in and adhering them in place. And I'm adding both double-sided adhesive tape and also a little bit of glue. The tape is useful since it'll hold everything in place, but I find over time it will come loose. So I'll also add a little bit of glue as well. And with that glue, everything seems to stay together. So for the top, the only thing I've attached are those small tabs, and then I've also folded everything. Now I need to work on the bottom. So start off by folding in every single piece. So the 2 sides have 3 pieces. I'll first add some tape on the very end piece, and that has the 2 little diagonal angles. I'll fold that piece in. And I also put a little bit of glue. I'll press down firmly on both sides. Now I'll add another piece of tape, a little bit of glue, and I did fold it, but you don't want to fold it yet. First, you'll want to attach 2 of the tab pieces. Now you will see me adhere that right side down, and that's when I realize don't want to adhere that yet. First, we want to attach those 2 tabs on the bottom. They'll go underneath this folded piece. So once your pizza box is assembled, you shouldn't see any of those short tabs on the inside or the outside edge of the box. They'll all be hidden underneath some of the longer folded pieces. I'm adding the clear tape and then a little bit of glue. Then I'll fold up this bottom piece, hold it in place on the right, and do the same thing on the left side. Now we can fold down that outside piece. And that gives more stability to the form of the box. I'll tilt the box up to get a nice firm press on this side. Then I'll do the same thing on the other side. So we still have 2 ends of the box, it would be the front and back, that aren't adhered. The next side we want to attach has those 2 slanted edges, and that will be the front of the box. So I'm adding the clear double-sided adhesive tape, and mine did not go on very smoothly, but that's okay, it still ends up just fine. I'll remove the release paper, sort of flatten out some of those areas. Add glue, and then fold down this front piece. So the final area of the box is the back, and this is where we'll be attaching it to the top of the box. But first we need to attach those short tab pieces. So put tape and then some glue. I'll fold up the back end and adhere those in place on those small tabs. So there's the bottom portion of the box all assembled. So now we need to add the lid. And then the top of the box will actually go on the inside, so that straight end. I'll put adhesive on the back of this piece, put a little bit of glue, and I'm adding the tape on the top of this folded area. It'll be folding down. You don't want to put it on the inside of the lid. I'll make sure I'm adding it on the back end of the box, and that's where those 2 tabs that we just secured are. We'll insert the back end of the top of the box, then firmly press it in place. And since the top is just a tiny bit smaller than the bottom, you'll be able to close the lid of the pizza box with those 3 sides going inside the box. And to open the box, there's that little round tab that sticks out, makes it super easy to lift up the lid. So there's the box all assembled, not decorated yet, but you could fit a flat candy or other small items inside the box. Now there's also the option to put the gift card or money holder. I also cut this piece out of craft. I'll start off by folding all the perforated stitched areas. This piece also has some teeny tiny tabs, so we will need to attach those. I'll grab a smaller roll of the clear tape. This is a 1/8 inch roll. Add the tape down first on those tabs. And it doesn't matter which side you start on. Now put a little bit of glue, then I'll fold those tabs in and attach the sides. And I am holding those with my fingers for just a few seconds. Want to make sure they stay attached. This is where it's very helpful to have the tape along with the glue. So now I'll do the other end, cut some tiny pieces of tape to put on these little itty bitty tabs. Remove the release paper, add the glue, and then fold those inside this insert piece. And then I'll hold those in place with my fingers for just a few seconds, make sure everything stays adhered. And that's basically it for this insert piece. Those two longer side pieces you simply fold in. Then you can add your gift card or cash and then place it inside the pizza box. If you want that insert piece a little more secure, you could put adhesive on those longer side pieces and then place the insert inside the box. So now it's time to decorate the top of the pizza box. I'll be using the Hot and Fresh Pizza Stamp Set. The last piece of the pizza box die is a stitched square, and I cut this one out from white cardstock, and I've already stamped two of the ends using the longer checkered stamp that's included on the Hot and Fresh Pizza Stamp Set. Now I'm stamping the two sides with the shorter checkered stamp image. The ink color I used is Catherine Pooler's Rockin Red. So by using the two checkered stamp pieces, you can create this fun checkered border on the stitch square die cut. I'll put glue on the back and adhere this piece on the top of the pizza box. And I am opening it up, trying to press firmly. And I'll place an acrylic block on top, let that sit for a few minutes. Using the same stamp set, I stamped out "Wishing you a happy, happy birthday. Let's dough crazy and celebrate." And I am popping it up with some foam. It also has the little pizza slice image, and I did color it using Copic markers. It's a super easy image to color. So there is the pizza box all assembled and decorated. This is such a cute design. There are some birthdays coming up in my family. They're teenagers, so they're always hard to shop for. The pizza boxes will be perfect. I'll simply add some cash or a gift card. I also made 3 different card designs using some of the new products. Start with card design number 1. The pattern paper I'm using for the background is from scrapbook.com's Ginghams collection. Using this fun tan and cream design. This piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Across the card, I added a strip of a cream pearlescent cardstock, and that is 4 inches by 1 1/4 inch. I adhered it about 1 inch up from the bottom edge of the pattern paper. And for a little extra shine, I put a Love from Lizzie peel off along the edge of the pearlescent cardstock. This is the clear with gold overlay in pinstripe style. And I used the narrowest width. I'll be adding the image and sentiment in the center, so I was able to use some peel off scrap pieces. I'll wrap the ends around the back, layer this piece on some brown cardstock, put adhesive on the back, and add my card front onto a card base. All of my cards are American Standard A2 size, 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. For the image panel, I used some petite print pattern paper from Doodlebug Design. It's a little hard to see, but it's white with a light gray wood grain design. And I cut it out using Jaded Blossom's stitched nested arch dies. Before adhering it down, I'll add a scrap piece behind the arch, and I simply use the same size arch die to cut out that piece. The pearlescent cardstock that goes across the card is fairly thick, so I wanted to add that additional layer so there isn't a noticeable dip on the front of the card. And I adhered that down using glue. This card will feature a girl gnome, and she's wearing the new pizza slice hat, which I think is super cute. Not sure how safe that would be, especially with the hot cheese melting down toward her face. I decided to give her a green dress, use some brighter green cardstock from my stash. For the hat, there are 3 pieces. So the very background piece, that will be the crust. You'll just see the very bottom edge. I use brown cardstock. The next layer of the hat, this is the sauce. I use red cardstock. And the last layer is the cheese, and I use yellow cardstock from my stash. Now the pizza hat does not line up perfectly with the traditional gnome hat. So I like to hold it in place and then simply trim off those areas of the white background gnome hat so they aren't visible. You can use any color cardstock for the main gnome piece. It's basically a guide for assembling your gnomes. I like to use a thinner white cardstock. When assembling the girl gnome, I always start with the dress and then her face. You want to attach the face before the hat since the top area of the face will be covered up with the hat. After adding the hat, then I'll attach her nose, and I usually pop it up using some thin foam dimension. Then I'll add her hair, and I gave this gnome some brown curly hair. Next are her feet, and I also popped them up with more foam. She'll be holding a slice of pizza. For the very background piece that has those little hand hold areas, I use brown cardstock. You can use any color because it will all be covered up. Use the same brown for the crust, then yellow for the cheese. And there are 3 small pepperoni pieces. 2 will go on the very edge so they're not a full circle. Before adding her hands, since there's extra layers with the cheese and the crust, I'll first add a scrap piece of cardstock in those little handhold areas and then attach her hands. Now I'll flip over this piece, pop it up using more foam. I'll remove the release paper and add the slice of pizza in front of the little girl, so now it looks like she's holding it. The small foam squares I'm using are from scrapbook.com. It's their 1 millimeter thickness, so it adds just a little bit of dimension. The final step, I need to add all the toppings for her pizza hat. And this is a supreme pizza hat. There's a tomato, there's peppers, olives, mushroom, and some pepperoni. And I like that the cheese layer has the stitched outline for all the different toppings of the pizza. Most of the cardstock I use for the die cuts are from my stash. I know with Jaded Blossom releases, I'm able to use up some of my cardstock scrap pieces. I have just one final pepper to add to her hat. So there's the little girl gnome all dressed up with a pizza hat and holding a piece of pizza. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. I used my favorite sentiment, no matter how you slice it, you're awesome. Using the outline die, I cut out a second piece from brown cardstock. I'll adhere the 2 pieces together, offsetting them slightly so you can see just a peek of that brown underneath the sentiment and on the left side. It helps it stand out against the background. I will be popping it up using more foam. This time I grabbed a foam roll from scrapbook.com. This is also a 1 millimeter thickness. I'll remove the release paper and add the sentiment at the bottom of the arch die cut. For the girl gnome, I'm not popping her up, but I am adding a little bit of foam behind the top area of her feet. And I just grabbed some 2 millimeter foam from my stash. I'll remove the release paper, put glue behind the rest of the gnome, and adhere her above the sentiment. For embellishments, I'm using one of my favorite die sets from Jaded Blossom. This is their original Embellishment Cluster die set. It's perfect for creating your own embellishments. And I have a bunch of them already cut out, ready to go, mostly in gold, holographic, silvers. For this card, I'm using some gold pearlescent cardstock and the heart design. I'll put 3 hearts in the upper right-hand corner, the largest heart and 2 mediums. And on the left side, I'll add a medium heart and the smallest heart. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. Now moving on to card design number 2. I've already ink blended the background. For the sky, I used Distress Oxide, Salvage Patina, and Peacock Feathers. And for that little bit of dirt at the bottom, I used Distress Oxide Vintage Photo. I've also assembled one of the booths using some wood grain pattern paper from my stash. And if you're interested in seeing how to assemble the booth, it's actually very easy. But you can always check out my Jaded Blossom playlist on YouTube. I have dozens and dozens of videos featuring Jaded Blossom items. I put glue on the back of the booth and adhered it on the card front. And I did place a large acrylic block on top for some added weight. And I'll just let that sit for a few minutes while I work on the pizza, garland, or bunting piece for the booth. I use a dark blue cardstock, and this will all be covered up except for the little string pieces between the slices of pizza and also the bows. The garland has 5 pizza slices. I've already assembled 3 of them except for the pepperoni. I use brown cardstock for that background piece, brown cardstock for the crust, and then the yellow cardstock for the cheese. And there is an individual piece for the crust. At this point in the video, I didn't notice it, but I will attach those later on. And that's just one of the many reasons why I love Scrapbook.com's stack and sort trays. I put all my die cut pieces in there, stack them all up together while I'm prepping cards, and then I know I won't lose the die cuts. Now I'll add the pepperoni pieces. And this time the cheese doesn't have the stitched area where to add the pepperoni, so you can do it however you want. I decided to add 3 and then 2, then 3, and continue on in that pattern. I'll first add a small drop of Barely Art glue, and I'm picking up those teeny tiny pieces using the wax tip end of Scrapbook.com's Craft Pro Pick tool. The tiny pieces have 2 small stitch lines, and I'm trying to adhere the pepperoni down so the stitch lines all go the same direction. And most of my pepperoni pieces that were in the stack and sort tray were upside down, so I'm also trying to flip them over so they're the correct direction. Next, I'm adding a large piece of pizza with the melted cheese. We'll use brown cardstock for the main background piece, also for the crust, the yellow for the cheese, and then this sort of burgundy color for the pepperoni. Once the die cut images are assembled, I'll place them back in the stack and sort tray, move on to the next piece. I've already assembled most of the girl gnome. I gave her some braids with pretty blue bows. The pattern paper I use for her hat and dress are from Bella Boulevard's. It's their Bella Besties collection, similar to Doodlebug Designs Petite Prints. She'll be holding a slice of pizza, the very melty piece. For the very background piece with the little handholds, I used the brown cardstock, then added the crust, the cheese, and the pepperoni pieces. I like how Jaded Blossom designed the pepperoni slices for the melty cheese slice of pizza. Before adding her hands, I'll first put a scrap piece of cardstock in that little hand hold area. That way it stays at the same level. Then I'll attach both of her hands. And her thumbs will be on the outside, since that's how it would be if you're holding an object this way. So I'll set that inside the stack and sort tray, and next assemble the sign with the word pizza. But here's where I noticed I also forgot that crust area for the large melty piece of pizza. It wasn't as noticeable since I used brown cardstock for the background piece. For the pizza sign, I used craft cardstock and a reddish cardstock for the letters. And I love that that main sign piece already has the stitch area for the letters. Super easy to place them down. So I have just 2 more letters to add to the sign. Try to get them on nice and straight. So here I noticed I forgot the 2 crusts for the slices of pizza. As I'm assembling all the different die cuts, my stack and sort tray doesn't have very many left to assemble. I have the tomato and also the sign with the price. The tomato is super easy. I use red cardstock for the main tomato and then green cardstock for the stem. So just glue those 2 pieces together. And for the sign, the little stitch circle die cut, this is included on the original Build a Booth die set. I cut it out from some white shimmer cardstock, and for the dollar sign and the number 1, I used some dark blue cardstock. So now I have all the different die cut images assembled. It's time to add them to the booth. And I'll start with the pizza slice garland or bunting. Put glue on the back, adhere it at the bottom of the booth. Next, I'll add the price in the upper right-hand corner. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we could purchase a slice of pizza for only $1? And for the word pizza, decided I would pop it up using some 1mm foam. And I'll put that sign at an angle. The large slice of pizza with the melty cheese will go directly underneath the pizza sign. The very bottom edge will actually attach to the pizza sign. So on the back side, I'll add some clear double-sided adhesive tape. And then for foam dimension, I'm using some 2mm foam squares from my stash. I'll remove the release paper and add that large slice of pizza at the bottom edge of the pizza sign. Next, I'll give the slice of pizza to the girl gnome, and I will pop it up using more of the 1mm small foam squares. I'll remove the release paper and add it right in front, so now it looks like she's enjoying her pizza. The girl gnome will go in front of the booth on the right side. I'll put some foam dimension behind her, but just behind the top area of the hat. Behind the rest of her, I'll use Barely Art Glue. Now I'll adhere her down in front of the booth. In the lower left-hand corner, I felt like it needed something, so this is where I'll be adding the 3 vegetables. So I have the yellow onion, a large mushroom, and then the tomato. I'll put the mushroom down first. The onion will go on the very left side, and the tomato will overlap it just slightly. When I was cutting out all the pepperoni pieces, I wasn't sure how many I needed, so I did end up with a few extras. So there is my finished card. I really like how this one turned out. Lots of die cutting, but I think it was worth it. For my final card design, I'm using the new border stencil. I love the 5 different borders included on the one set. I'll be using 3 different designs, the hearts that go vertical, the stars, and also the polka dots. I cut out some small pieces of light green cardstock, and the ink color I'm using is Catherine Pooler's Sea Foam, and I'm adding 2 rows of each of the designs. Right now the ink color looks a little dark, but it will lighten as it dries. I'm going for a very tone-on-tone look. Since I'm crafting on a magnetic glass mat, super easy to do the stenciling right on the mat since cleanup is so simple. The glass mat, ink holder, and magnets are all from Glassboard Studio. And now through March, if you use my discount code Kristie, you'll save 20% at Glassboard Studio. I'm using their MagInk Tray to hold the ink pad in place and some of their pawn magnets to hold the stencil in place. And to help make sure I don't accidentally get some of the other stencil design on the piece, I'll put some mint tape covering up those stencil areas. I'm on the final piece with the little circles. I love that you could add just a small stripe with the different designs, or you could use this stencil and cover a complete background. Now I'll set everything aside and quickly clean up my mat. I know it's a light ink color, so you really can't see it. I'll spritz it with water and then wipe it dry with a Crafty cleanup cloth from scrapbook.com. So here are those 3 stenciled panels, and I did one more featuring the hearts off camera. I'll be adding these panels inside the window card mat die from Jaded Blossom. I've already cut out the frame. I believe this cardstock color is from Basil. It's the Atlantis color. The other side has a pearlescent finish. And normally I would use that side, but the back side had the perfect sort of greenish teal color. I put some clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back of the frame. I'll remove the release paper, then add each of the stenciled pieces behind one of the window openings. Now, the pieces are a little bit too big. I cut them larger on purpose. I'll simply use a pair of scissors, trim off one of the sides and the top, and I'll hold it up to the frame, make sure I'm happy with the placement before adhering it down. I'm adding the 2 heart panels, one in the upper left-hand corner and the other in the lower right-hand corner. The polka dots will go in the upper right-hand corner and the stars in the lower left-hand corner. And I'll cut those stenciled pieces small enough so they aren't overlapping on the back. I just have the one final piece to attach. Now I'll add this piece on more of the light green cardstock. And that cardstock piece is 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. Put more adhesive on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. So there's the main background. I'll set that aside and start assembling some of the die cut pieces. I have everything cut out in another stack and sort tray. Way less die cuts for this card. This time I'm adding one of the boy gnomes, and he's wearing the new chef hat. I use white cardstock for the background and also the individual pieces. For the boy gnome, I always add the beard first, and then usually the hat, although I have already attached his shoes. The bottom curve of the hat matches perfectly with the top curve of the beard. So I'll hold the hat in place, and then with a pair of scissors, I'll trim off any of that background original gnome hat that's peeking out. Then I'll put glue on the back, attach the hat. Next, I'll add the mustache and then the nose. And I did pop up the nose along with the shoes with some foam dimension. This gnome will be holding a round pizza. I use brown cardstock for the crust, yellow cardstock for the cheese, and then I cut out a bunch of the teeny tiny pepperonis. And I love that the die for those pepperoni pieces is one die. So you only have to run it through your die cut machine one time. I'll first add a small drop of Barely Art glue, then pick up the pepperoni pieces using the wax tip end of the Craft Pro Pick tool. And these also have that little stitch detail, so I'm trying to get them all facing the same direction. I need to add just 3 more pieces. My fingers end up super sticky from little bits of glue. I do have a baby wipe off on the side that I'll wipe my fingers off occasionally. So after adding all the pepperoni pieces, next I can attach his hands. I'm putting glue just behind the finger area. I'll put one hand on the right and one on the left, and I will be popping up the pizza using some foam. I grab the small and also some of the large foam squares. And with the large, I did have one cut in half, so it fit perfectly behind the pizza. I'll remove the release paper and add the pizza in front of the gnome. The very top crust does sit on his nose. You could put it a little bit lower, but I think that makes it really fun. This will be a birthday card, so I'm adding 5 red balloons. And the balloon dies and strings are from Jaded Blossom's balloon die set. I use some white shimmer cardstock for the balloon strings. I'll adhere them on the back side of the balloons. Just adding a tiny bit of Barely Art glue, then adding the strings. And I'm using 2 different strings. One has the little curly Q and the other just has a little bit of a curve. Most of the strings won't be very visible, just 2 of them on the left side. For a sentiment, I'm adding Pizza Party, and I've already stamped and cut this out. I will be popping up the gnome using more foam dimension, and I'll also add some foam behind 4 of the balloons. For a little more party decoration, I'm adding 3 different streamer banner pieces, and these are from Jaded Blossom's banner die set, and I use some gorgeous silver holographic cardstock, and this is from Your Paper Insider's holographic cardstock bundle. The bundle includes, I believe, 10 different holographic designs, and they're so sparkly. I'll add all 3 of the banner streamer pieces at the top of the card, and I'm just trimming off the extra so it's just sitting on that window frame. I didn't want to add any other colors to the card, and I think the silver holographic cardstock is the perfect touch for a birthday card. So I have just 1 more of the streamers to adhere. Next, I'll add the sentiment at the very bottom, and it'll sit on the window frame. I will pop it up using more of the foam. Remove the release paper, add that sentiment in place, and then I'll add the gnome right above the sentiment. I generally add the gnome images on a shape die cut, but I think there's enough contrast between the gnome colors and the background that I didn't need to add that additional shape. So now it's time to finish off the party with the red balloons. I'll put foam dimension behind 4 of them. One that'll be on the right side and tucked underneath the hat. I won't add any foam. Behind the strings, I'm putting a little bit of glue. So put a large balloon in the upper left-hand corner, then a small one underneath it, and the balloon strings will overlap each other. And I'll put another small balloon above his hat. I will trim off the bottom area of the string since it won't be visible. Now I'll put a large balloon on the right side, trim off more of that string, and tuck it behind the gnome. And then 1 final balloon. I did pop this one up with more foam. I'll add it in the upper right-hand corner. And I'm using a mix of the small and large foam squares. Just want to make sure to get good coverage. And I need to trim off just a little more of the string so I can get it adhered in place. For a final finishing touch, I'm using a white gel pen and adding some highlights on each of the red balloons. I'll also put a highlight on his nose and his shoes. For this card, I'm not adding any embellishments. I think there's already plenty going on with the red balloons and the silver holographic banner and streamers. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. I did change the skin tone and the beard colors. Now here's another look at the 7 projects I made using Jaded Blossom's brand new January 2026 release. I love the fun pizza theme, and the new pizza box die set is super cute. Jaded Blossom never disappoints with their amazing releases. I always look forward to the next one. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.